Reed Hill says, if capitalism is so great, why does it create such wealth disparities between the top and the bottom of the wealth scale? Isn't such a system inherently unfair? No, Reed, it's inherently fair. It's inherently fair. This is the thing that we've got to just go directly at from this point forward. These wealth disparities are not injustice. If you have a completely free market, and we don't, but that's the goal, but if you had a completely free market and a legal system where everyone had legal equality under the law, then these disparities are not a sign of injustice, they're a sign of justice. They're a sign of individual people making decisions to work harder or less hard, to get more education or less, to party or to study, every single person making their own choice without coercion on their own lights based on their own degree of what they perceive happiness to be. And the results of a system like that will produce vast amounts of inequality because people are making different choices. Different choices. And the only way you can legislate people into all being the same is by taking away everybody's choice and telling them what to do. So it is not just to have a society where everybody makes the same amount of money. If you actually think that a 17-year-old, you have two 17-year-olds who both have 120 IQs, let's just say, and one of them studies for 20 years to be a brain surgeon, and the other one sits out back behind the 7-Eleven, smokes weed all day, and does nothing but hang out with his loser buddies. If you tell me that both those people deserve to make the same amount of money, then that is a horrible, cruel, vicious, venal, awful, evil thing to say. Inequality of income is almost certainly in America today the result of inequality of abilities and effort, period. And to say that everybody should be equal when people don't have equal abilities, but especially don't have equal efforts, is vile. It's evil. And once you get past this, by the way, once you start asking students if everybody in the class should get a C, should everybody get a C? Should we just give everybody C's in this class? You know what happens when you ask the class that question? The D students and the F students say yes. The A students and the B students say no. Why? Because making everybody get a C benefits some people at the cost of other people. That's not fair. It's not fair. It's not right. It's not good. And when you start doing that to people, then what you are doing is you're not only just putting an incentive towards lowering everybody's output and everybody's wealth and everybody's opportunity, you are in fact capping it. And you are limiting, if you want to make equal incomes, then everybody will make the income of the least capable, laziest person. And everything other than that is just stealing. So if I'm going to make $25,000 a year as a 7-Eleven clerk, by the way, just so we're crystal clear on this, there is absolutely nothing dishonorable about being a 7-Eleven clerk. On the contrary, people who work at 7-Eleven have my undying respect. It's a difficult job, it's a dangerous job, and it takes a lot of weird long hours, and God bless them, and they're working hard for a living, and they're making their money, honestly, good for them. But if you're telling me that somebody who's basically taken their entire life and thrown it away having fun, which is their business and their choice, should now downstream be rewarded the same as somebody who has worked and worked and worked and worked and worked, then I will tell you two things. First of all, that's an evil thing to do. It's not just unfair or wrong or bad. It's evil. And secondly, you will demotivate the people who would have worked. And you're not going to have any brain surgeons anymore. You're going to have just 7-Eleven clerks. Because it's easier to be a 7-Eleven clerk than it is to be a brain surgeon. Right? It's much easier. And if you don't get the extra reward for the extra work, then what is going to happen is you're not going to have any brain surgeons, and that's what the Soviet Union is. It's a world of people where nobody tries harder and nobody does anything because there's no reason to do anything. There's no reason for it. Why is it that these socialist countries that everybody just rails about, oh, it's so wonderful, the income equality is so wonderful, everybody's so happy, why don't they produce anything? Ever, 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 ever. Why don't we ever see anything come from these countries? Ever. Never, ever do we see that happening. Why? It's because there's no reason to. It's bred out of these people. A guy in a garage in America can write an app that could make him a billionaire. Just look at what's his name, Facebook guy. He strikes me. Zuckerberg strikes me. Zuckerberg. I can't remember his name. Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg. He strikes me, frankly, as one of the most vile people in the world. And I saw The Social Network, and it did not soften my opinion of him. He struck me as a guy who's pretty bright, but basically pretty venal and pretty creepy. He's worth billions of dollars today, and the reason he's worth billions of dollars today is because he came up with something that allows me to announce my show to everybody else. He's worth every penny. Mark Zuckerberg is worth every dime of his money. He's worth every single dime. Now, maybe he did some backhanded deals, and there's a lot of stuff in that movie that says he's not a good guy and actually cheated. To the degree that he cheated, he needs to be sued or put in jail. But when you get down to the brass tacks, he produced something absolutely spectacular. And I don't believe that we would have a Facebook today if the people who got involved in Facebook, just as one example, if the people who got Facebook off the ground had not seen millions of dollars, turned out it was billions, but if it weren't for the fact that they'd seen millions of dollars in it, then they wouldn't have done it. And the final thing I'll say about this wealth creation thing is this. I know a lot of people who are millionaires, and everybody I know who's a millionaire, I don't know lots, I know probably 5, 6, 7. Everybody I know who became a millionaire because of something that they wanted to do. Not one of the millionaires that I know, not one, said, I want to be a millionaire because I want to be a millionaire. Let me find something I can go make $1 million at. I've never seen that happen, by the way. I've never seen it happen. The millionaires I know are people who said, I got to do something. There's something I can do to improve this. There's a better way to do this. Or here's something that has never been done, or wouldn't it be cool if? And then they do it. And third or fourth down the list of things that enter their mind is, you know what, I'm actually make a lot of money doing that. And I'm a perfect example of that, by the way, because there are stories I have to tell and there are things I have to say. And I said them on Eject. I said them whether people paid me or not. I said them whether people listen or not. I did it for the reason that I had to do it. I had to do it. I was passionate about it. I wanted to do it. To the degree I'm good at it, people started paying me. And to the degree that people are paying me, then the more I do, the more I make. And that's fair. It's not fair that the more... Why would I possibly be coming in here 7 days a week, staying till 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night if I didn't think that I could get ahead of it, that I could have opportunities to do things like fly a Viper jet, for example? Why would I do it? I wouldn't. And so everybody else doesn't. And then you have universal poverty, which is the universal poverty that these socialists want. The progressives want this stuff because they're lazy. This is not a moral advantage to be lazy. They're lazy. And so when people succeed, they do two things. They say, well, first of all, that makes me look bad. They did it. I didn't. So I got the sense of guilt and the sense of shame and the sense of all this other stuff. But what they really say is, how come this guy has 5 houses and I don't have any? When you get down to brass tacks, there are millions of exceptions, needless to say. When you get down to brass tacks, a guy has 5 houses and you don't, because either he or his parents made decisions that allowed them to maximize their willingness to work and find something new. Now, when I say work, I'm not necessarily talking about hours or physical labor. There are janitors who work very, very hard and make very little money. But if you wanted to make money as a janitor and you really had the idea that you wanted to be a janitor millionaire, you wanted to be a millionaire and all you knew how to do was be a janitor, if you really wanted that, you would find a way to get in touch with the people who would tell you how to set up your own janitorial service business, and then you would be a millionaire janitor. And it's just that simple. And as Dave Big Booty just pointed out, perfect coded to the end of this thing, this poverty is the default human condition because laziness is the default human condition. The reason the world has so much wealth now is because America was the first time in the first place in the history of the planet that let people alone and gave them a chance to keep what they made. It's the land of opportunity. Why do you think all the hardworking immigrants from around the world for 200 years got in a boat, threw whatever they had into a bag, and got on a boat and came to some place they'd never seen before? What was it about America? They said the streets were paved with gold. Nobody actually believed that the streets are actually paved with gold. It's a metaphor for the idea that if you were be left alone and you worked hard enough, you could afford to pave the golden streets because people would let you. And of course, that's why everybody has to have it destroyed. When you hear these progressives talking about, well, Europe this and Europe that and Europe this and Europe that, well, we should be more like Europe. Less successful, you mean? Lazier, you mean? More envious, you mean? 2 months off in the summer, which is why I love that Cadillac commercial so much, and 35-hour work weeks and all these benefits that we're not working for or paying for, and have somebody else pay for it or the future pay for it or whatever, have the Americans pay for our defense, blah, 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 blah. It's not for everybody, but it's even, see, this is what I said a few minutes ago, even for the slackers, it's a great place to be because it's a good place to be a slacker. but it doesn't mean that we have to let the slackers tell us that we're not allowed to work anymore. And ultimately, as Ayn Rand was so clearly tuned into, it's not like they don't want us to work. The slackers do want us to work. They just want us to work and give us their stuff. Give them our stuff. And I'm against that. So there you go. Because it's unfair and evil.